that's how you caught my attention. But then, I listened to the other stuff with Tim Ries and all that, and the last one is amazing also. And I was like, wow, that's cool. I mean, not only I love the compositions as well, not only the playing. I mean, the playing is virtuosic anyway, but just the tunes you write are really beautiful. How you develop the melodies and everything. So
Mm.
that's one thing that kind of I think nowadays catches my ear is like the composition, because technically there are so many amazing players out there. It's just it's hard to get through somewhere. And I think you seem to be like really very well, like with writing, with composing. You're really good at this. And I wanted to ask you, like, first, congratulations on the last record, the Gotham Goodbye, which is swinging as hell, man. But like, uh, I love especially the ballads, like that In Memoriam, and that another one in 19 Ashland. Uh,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah, like, how did you write the music for this project, and where did you get the ideas to do that? Especially the ballads. I mean, how do you write the music, for instance?
Well, I have, unfortunately for me, I think I edit myself a lot.
Ah, really?
So I'm not happy with most of what I write, but I've understood not to throw it away. So
Okay.
sometimes it sits on my desk for several years.
Oh, wow.
I'm talking years and years, and
Really?
finally I look at it 10 years later and I go, maybe it's not too bad. So I sort of like find a little material in it that I'm okay with, correct it, and then I say, okay, I can live with it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting.
But uh, I have also written quite a bit of music for large ensemble,
Yeah.
and writing music is a little different than playing jazz. So it's a little
Yeah.
different. It's not that different, but there's a little bit of a different process. And basically, when you write music, it's going to be here to stay. When you play a solo and it's not that good, it's okay. It's already passed.
That's true. Yeah.
So you have to be really like self-conscious and you edit. But then I get too self-conscious and I edit too much. I think it's good enough. So
But you
so
wrote quite a lot of music still through the years, right? Like,
well, I'm almost 60, so I've written a bit of music. I could have written a lot more, but at some point, you go, oh, I don't know why I write music anymore
yeah.
unless preparing a new record. I have quite a bit of tunes that are good, and I
Hmm.
also play standards.
Yeah, sure. Of course.
That's how I. So
Yeah.
so basically, I have this a lot of tunes to play, and sometimes I go, and then I start writing, and then I look at it and I go, that's really good, except that I already wrote it 20 years ago. So I can't do that again. So I can't do the same thing that I did
Yeah,
20,
yeah.
if not
I,
30, if not more than that.
yeah, sure. But
So,
how do you write? Like, I mean, I write quite a lot of music. I mean, like, I've written also, but how do you write? like, do you start with a melody first, or do you start with some groove, or with chord progressions, or it differs? Or
you know, it's always different.
yeah, no recipe, right? Like,
Most of the time it's with the melody, but
oh, okay.
I have taken chord progressions that I like and
Oh,
put
okay.
something to it less often. But I try to write the melody, but it's very difficult because then you get so critical that you go, okay, nothing works. I've
Yeah,
done it before, so that's a
yeah,
little bit of a problem. So sometimes you have to go around the problem. So you try to find a groove, although I don't really write that many grooves.
yeah, yeah.
But you try to find a groove, or you try to find a chord progression that really you want to explore and play on stage, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you like this Gotham Goodbye thing.
Hmm.
I'm trying to remember the Gotham Goodbye was really. Sometimes you play a melody and you sort of have to convince yourself that this is good enough.
Yeah.
And in Gotham Goodbye, it's really two notes.
Yeah.
Two notes. But I found that those two notes with those two chords,
Enough. Yeah.
they were convincing enough so that they gave me enough material to continue.
Yeah.
So I would say that the most important thing in my case, whatever it's worth, is that you are actually convinced that the little you wrote is special.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's a good policy. Yeah.
Because the original material has to be pretty good.
Yeah.
And this is how I actually, if I talk about it, this is how I actually, when I took counterpoint,
Yeah.
I was always annoyed by my teacher. He used to say, "Well, look at the original phrase. It's not strong enough." I was like, "I'm gonna kill him," But it's a little bit of the same thing. You have to look at the original phrase. Is it strong enough?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it is, you can probably do the development.
Yeah.
And if it's not, then you should probably try to find another one.
Yeah.
But I must say that I don't write that much.
Yeah. But when you write, do you write for musicians in mind? Let's say when you wrote for this quartet with these guys, or you just write the music that.
I just write. Originally in ancient times I used to play saxophone. So the saxophone is always on my mind.
Oh, okay.
So somehow the range and all that stuff. So it's always But no, I just write and I kind of sense that some music will be played better by some people.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to ask you also for this new the quartet, the Gotham Goodbye band. How did you get these guys together? Did you play before already? Because you sound really like a unit. It's it's really strong. The record.
It's kind of it's a bit of a simple story. It's this. I mean, to me, to my euros, to my token, to my dollars. these three guys are the best you can find in Paris.
Okay. Wow.
I mean, the bass player, the drummer, and the sax player.
Yeah.
I can't find anybody better.
Yeah.
And I've played with these three guys quite a bit, but not enough because, as you can expect, those three guys are very much in demand.
Yeah.
So we did small gigs here and there, and to be honest, they were pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically, I didn't have much to. We rehearsed some of the stuff. They had played a little bit in gigs. Some of the stuff was a little bit newer, like that thing, A Night in Ashland.
Yeah.
It's not difficult to play. You just have to find the right mood.
Yeah, definitely. It's ballady. Yeah. So.
If the musicians are really good, they can read through you. You sort of,
Yeah.
So it's a matter of, I think, is a lot to say about picking the right musicians.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, it's important. Yeah. I mean, if we go just back to composition, like an interesting fact that I found about you, like that you studied with Michael Gibbs.
I did, yeah, but very little. I remember he was completely. He only talked about aesthetics. It used to drive me crazy. He only talked about aesthetics.
In what sense? I mean,
and I was 20, so that's a little time ago. But he never talked about, put the ninth there, flute, whatever, put this, nothing. Just to talk about the aesthetics of the music, what the music should contain, and after a while, I got his message. Was the same one that I just gave you.
Yeah.
The original material has to be pungent.
Yeah.
Like you write beginning, it has to be so pungent that it's going to develop itself almost.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's probably one of the only thing I got out of it.
Yeah, but that's the most important, I would say.
because he was not at Berkeley. He had a class that we listened to all kind of different music, which was interesting. Mm-hmm. Although at that time, 40 years ago, I was not completely open to,
everything. Yeah.
Charles Ives.
Yeah. Okay.
So he loved Charles Ives, and so I was not completely open, and he used to make fun of that. He used to say, has Frank worked on his attitude again?
That's so cool.
I was like, okay, if I bring you some music, you can criticize later on, So it was like a game, I was sister. Oh, I don't really like this kind of music. He would play. I think I think it's Terry Riley music for percussion, whatever.
Okay, yeah.
And I used to go, oh, I didn't come to Berkeley to hear this. We had that shit over there, in France, weird music. I don't care, But then he would go, no, listen. It's kind of interesting. Gets interesting. I was like, oh, okay, it does actually. Okay.
Yeah, but how did it feel for you? Like you were in Berkeley in the beginning of the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Like because nowadays, okay, Berkeley has become this huge international. It's mostly international students. Were there at that time many international students also, like French people or not really?
There was a lot of international actually.
It was already also.
It was maybe each country in Europe had about 20 or 30, but of wide different level. And then Japan had like 300 or something.
Really? Already? Jesus.
Oh, yeah. And so and most international students were older than American students. American students, they enter Berkeley when they're 18, to high school. And we got there, maybe we were 20, 22.
Yeah.
There's a big difference already at 22 and 18. So actually, we didn't hang out too much with the Americans. Sort of used to annoy us. They used to watch, baseball games and drink beer. And it was like, oh fuck, did we come here to listen to this? So it was a bit different, and it was good. I learned both ways because I learned very early that the international students were a little smarter and a little more put more thought about the music, but the American had this, especially when it came to large ensembles. The American were so much better.
Oh wow, really?
So much better. They were so much better trained, and that's where I understood that no matter what we do in large ensembles in jazz, I think we are like way behind. Now it's not the same. Now you have the Brussels Jazz Orchestra and the VDR and all that stuff. They play very, very well together. But you compare that even more than 20 years ago, it was like, I played with quite a few big bands over in New York. I was always amazed at the sound these guys get automatically.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
Lead trumpet, the second trumpet, the third, the fourth trumpet, they know exactly how to play together. And it was like you go back to Europe and you go, it's not that they can't do it, but there is no culture of that.
Yeah, it's a different tradition. Yeah.
There's no culture. And you try to really steer them in the right direction, but there's no culture on that.
It's different. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's a different. Yeah, they come from a different world. That's
exactly
musically and everything. Yeah. I wanted to ask you then, like, also one interesting fact is that then you moved from Berkeley. I guess you went directly to New York, and for me it's a question like, how did you? Okay, why did you decide, and how did it make you feel? I remember my first time when I came to New York, and I don't know, I'm a little in 1997, I think, and I was like, as this guy from Slovenia playing jazz, I was like, what is this? 60 concerts every evening and all the musicians, jam sessions. And how was it for you? Like in mid 80s, New York was, I guess, still quite rough back then, right?
To be totally honest, because this is a long time ago, I can let myself go and I can tell you what I think.
Yeah.
Is the fact when I lived in Boston, I fucking hated it because I didn't like the fact of being a student. And then I lived a year. I don't know why I stayed one more year in Boston. I didn't like it at all. And I went to New York. Every time I went to New York, it was like everybody's a foreigner. The shish kebab is a foreigner. Everyone's a foreigner. So for one thing, I felt at home, And then people played the music I liked. I like this kind of music.
Yeah.
It's like in New York, in Boston. First of all, when I left Boston, is at the time when they opened the Regatta Bar and Scholars and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But before that, there was nothing. So I mean, it was Riles or whatever, but nothing. So when we went to New York and we finally heard jazz, the jazz that I like, I was like, oh, never mind, I want to be here. And oddly enough, I was lucky enough that when I went to New York, I immediately met people who liked my playing and I got to work immediately.
Yeah.
And that was it. It was maybe not the best work, not the greatest work, but I got to work and I was happy.
Yeah.
Totally happy. Much happier than I had been in Boston.
Boston, yeah. But how was it like in the beginning? How did you get the connections? How did you start in a way?
I had a few friends who had like a few what's called club date bands or wedding bands, and those, sometimes it's pretty shitty, and sometimes it's really good.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just go there and you play, and you could wait a second. I know this bass player. He's from this record, and this drummer. Oh, that's him.
Incredible.
So everybody is at the same. In the 80s, there was so much work. You could work with just anyone if you had the level. So really, it was really easy. I remember probably the first gig I had. It was the bass player went to the band leader and he complained. He said, "Why did you hire a French guy? I mean, can this guy play?" And the band leader said, "Yeah. Wait 5 minutes. You'll start playing with him and you'll see." It was like, and then it was just like a breeze, just like a breeze. And I literally, when I met the right people, I felt that we were born with the same metronome.
Oh wow, that's a good phrase.
Like, yes, this is what I like. This is the feel I know. This is what I always looked for. And you, of course, this is a few years after Berkeley, or maybe 2 or 3 years after. But you got to understand, in the beginning of the 80s, jazz was a different period. Berkeley was not full of those great musicians you have now, because basically they didn't pay.
Yeah.
The way. So the great players, they didn't want to go. A lot of people. There were some great teachers at Berkeley, but not like now.
No, it's crazy.
So basically, the difference was huge. That's what I'm saying. Huge.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. And then, so basically, you then played in New York for a couple of years, and then you decided in 1990 or 89, I think, to do the debut Out for a Day album.
Right. So I lived a few years in New York and met a lot of people, especially younger musicians.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole point, is to play with your friends, your buddies.
Yeah.
And around 1990, I won a few awards here and there.
Yeah.
Got a little money, and I decided to do this record.
And how did you decide? I mean, for those two guys, okay, Bill Stewart, he was then like still coming up with Maceo Parker and all these guys, and Schofield, I think he played with Sco already.
Right before.
Even before, right?
That was a few weeks before he got the gig, both gigs.
Ah, really? Oh, wow. And how did you decide to get Bill,
Not
for
a few days.
instance?
As a matter of fact, it was probably a few days before. Yeah.
Ah, really?
Yeah.
So how did you meet Bill or decide to?
Well,
I mean,
you basically you go hear him in a club and you say let's play, okay, then we play and oh it sounds good, Obviously, Bill's a phenomenal player. So
he's incredible. Yeah.
So even when he was 23, he was a phenomenal player.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So,
and where does Gary Peacock come in? I mean, because
you try to do at this time, 30 years ago, you try to make a record which has one name so that people can actually look at Gary Peacock, and so I wanted to play with Bill, and the bass player would have I picked. Gary lived not far from New York, and we rehearsed, and everything went well. So we went to the studio, and we did that record.
Yeah. Did you then play with this trio also concerts or no?
No. I was a little intimidated, and it was a very weird time also of right after the Gulf War. It was very difficult to get things going, and Gary was in trying to get his group going, as a matter of fact. No, I didn't get. I played with Bill, but I didn't get to play with Gary. Yeah.
Gary, because I love also the writing again. If I go back to writing on that one, because you left, I don't know, you probably intentionally left quite a lot of space for Gary, right? Like all these tunes, like he's.
I don't know, but it just turned out like that.
That, right? Oh, okay.
I think that when you hire people of that quality.
Yeah,
you give them some room to, but I don't think he's overbearing or anything.
No. It's just like it's so natural. Like that. What is that? Yeah, I've bad with it. Keep that place in mind. That long title. That tune.
It's the most bizarre thing. I just started to play some major chord, and I went, okay, let's see how far I can go with major chords. That's all.
Wow.
So
it's so beautiful how you develop, how you guys develop all that, like
it's actually a great tune. When you do recordings of that level, you can get self-conscious. It's not going well. It's not going as well as I think. It's whatever, and then all of a sudden you try to relax. I mean, you try to relax. You play a tune where everybody can lose themselves into a tune, and all of a sudden it's there. Okay.
Yeah.
That moment is there. And so basically that was the tune that literally loosened the session.
Oh, yeah.
And everything after that went pretty smoothly.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, it's good if you gain that, like something like momentum like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
That I wanted to ask you. I mean, you've done so much stuff, and I'm really curious because, like, then you did this one record in 1992 with Danny Gatton and all those guys, the Blue Note.
Yeah.
I love Danny Gatton. He's like one of the most underrated jazz players. I mean, like, he was so versatile. And you guys sound, it's like a jam session kind of idea. But how did that group get together, and how was it for you?
Well, that's one of the nice stories and some of the odd stories of New York. Basically, I was playing this jam session at the Finnish embassy in New York.
Wow!
Okay. For the Pori Jazz Festival, and there were drunk people everywhere. And all of a sudden, at some point, the Rhodes, they didn't have a piano. The Rhodes was left alone. So everybody's half drunk. I went to the Rhodes. I don't know who was there on bass. I think, if I remember, Harvey Schwartz was right by, and I said, let's play. And we started playing, and I played one tune, and there was this guy next to me. He was half drunk, and he looked at me and he said, give me your number. So I was like, okay, yeah, sure, my number, and that's it. And
Okay.
2 months later, I get a call out of the blue. Said, yeah, could you do this recording session? I don't want to miss it. Just call me back. And we met at the Finnish embassy. Like, I mean, the guy who's like was completely half drunk. That's somebody important. So he said, yeah, okay. So Blue Note tomorrow. We'll be playing with this. And okay. So I went there, and it was disorganized, to say the least.
Okay.
And the studio was small, to say the least. And but everything went according to plan. And Danny Gatton was totally intimidated.
Ah, wow.
He can only play by ear.
I didn't know.
Which you find out immediately. Which he's basically the equivalent of some of the gypsy players we have in Europe, who completely learn by ear, can't read music at all, but play incredibly well.
Yeah.
So every tune he was right by the piano, and every tune I was going, okay, no, see, this chord is not right. You're playing, minor. It's sus chord. Okay, this. Okay, yeah, sus chord. Oh, okay. So that's. And everything went great, and
Amazing.
that was well liked in America.
Yeah.
In Europe, it went. Nobody noticed it.
Yeah.
But that record, 20 years later, there are people who go, "Oh, you are that guy who played on that record." Yeah, I am. So.
And it's like Roy Hargrove on it, on Joshua Redman. These guys who are now like,
Yeah.
Joshua is like a huge superstar now in jazz kind of, and so it's, I guess, people who now search records, then they see that, and then, which is good. I think that's good. That's how people find out about other musicians, like your music and that. So that's really good. Then I wanted to ask you some other things. Like I love the records in quartet with Team Ries, the saxophone player. I mean, I think I have like almost all of his records, but I didn't know that you worked together for quite a long time. And I wanted to ask you, how did you hook up with him? Because you did like, I think 3 or 4 records together, right?
Yeah, something like this. Well, it's one of the same thing, New York stories.
Yeah.
You just go. And I met him in a big band.
Ah.
And I had just arrived, literally a month before. Just arrived, and he's there in a big band, and so we decided to maybe get together and music. And then I realized that the guy was not exactly just any player. So we started playing, and we played and became good friends. And he, just like me, had a hard time getting his name out and the first record out. It was, so we had this band that was different bass and drums.
Yeah.
We experimented with different bass and drums. And New York, some guys, but they're not free, so they're available, So finally we got a week at the Village Gate.
Oh. Wow.
And available were Scott, Colley.
Yeah, and Bill Stewart. That's the Regards album then, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's so good.
So we did that. And then on Sunday, the Village Gate would go from Tuesday to Sunday. And on Sunday, my ex-wife and I, my then wife and I, decided to divorce.
Okay. Oh, no.
So here I am. On Sunday, I'm like a mess. And then on Monday, we're recording.
Oh, dude. Okay.
And Monday, we're recording. And so we started recording. It's pretty good, but it's not quite there. But there's a couple of tunes that I like. And I realized also that piano at BMG Studios then, that was Rachmaninoff's old piano.
Really? Oh wow.
And that piano doesn't really hold the tuning well. So I went, okay, we can save 2 tunes, but we got to do everything again. So a few months go by because nobody's available, and finally we did it again. By the way, we did that record live, which is meaning like everybody, just like a concert.
Oh, okay. So in the same room or?
No isolation booth or anything.
Oh wow.
And by the way, the trio album also is like that.
Really?
Yeah, and that's
Oh
probably
wow.
why it sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds. It's really together. Yeah.
Just completely different, especially if you think of how terrible the headphones were 30 years ago.
Yeah. 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 Even
Make
now.
30 years ago was a catastrophe.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
was always a problem. You would go into a studio, the band would be fine, and people would be isolated in booths far from you, and the headphones were terrible, and everything sucked. Okay,
Yeah.
that's the way we recorded in the 70s and 80s. And then in the beginning of the 90s, they started to come up with those individual mix, so that
Yeah.
got a lot
Yeah.
better.
That
Okay,
helped.
at
Yeah.
least it was got a lot better. But those records we recorded with no separation, no nothing.
Yeah.
Of course, the recording engineer trembled. He went, "It's gonna sound like shit.
Yeah.
It's gonna sound like shit, guys. It's gonna sound like shit." And I went, "Okay, Gene. I think Gene, you're the best engineer I ever worked with, ever. So if there is one person in this world that can do it, it's you."
Ooh.
Okay. And then he did. And I don't know if you noticed, but the sound of that first record is incredible.
Yeah. I mean, all of you, the bass, everything, the drums sound so natural.
Sound
It's
is,
natural.
and the piano
Yeah.
sucked.
Yeah.
That piano had to be completely overhauled after the session. And during the session, I had to call a tuner twice because the notes were sticking.
Really. Oh shit. Wow. That's.
So just to say, that piano was at the end of its life, a concert grand Steinway, but at the end of its life, but still, it was. There is something about the way it was recorded. It's so warm.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but I agree. Definitely. It's.
And so that
Yeah.
that quartet record we did like that. It's good. I mean, I like the music. It's there's no standards or whatever, which is
Yeah.
it's
The originals
difficult
are
to
really good.
know. But the originals came out well. Tim's way of writing is very peculiar because he likes to play the piano, so he write interesting chords. I mean, every chord is special. You have to think about it. You go, okay, what does he want? Okay,
Ah. Wow.
okay. But he sort of thinks like a pianist a little bit.
Yeah.
But he very special inversions every time you have to. So
Yeah. It's really good. I mean, really, it's. Even now, if you put it, I mean, it's like what 20 years old, probably almost. But now you put it on, it still sounds modern now because of the writing and everything, and it's really really cool. I mean, you mentioned just the 70s. I wanted to ask you that you grew up in France, right?
mhm.
And how was it for you as a teenager in France in the 70s? I mean, what is the thing that got you excited for jazz in the beginning? I
Uh,
mean, in the 70s, many guys played like amazing musicians already, like around in Europe and
but don't forget, I lived in Nice, which is
Nice.
you
Oh yeah,
know
the huge festival, right?
exactly. And so actually, when I started playing, I was about 14. Started playing, and the festival took place, and the festival changed my life. So anytime you hear that a festival, jazz is dead and whatever, to me, it changed my life because I saw the best musician ever
Mm.
do jam sessions and play together, and some of the best groups in jazz played, and it completely changed me. But unfortunately, in the 70s, in Nice, beside the festival, there was nothing.
Ah.
So I was in high school, and I didn't want to do anything else with music, so it was difficult. And remember the 70s. I mean, it's a long time ago, but we were completely isolated. There was no
Yeah,
way to learn, how to play jazz. What it seems like now you
yeah,
even need to go to college.
yeah, definitely.
But then it was just really bad. So I learned by myself.
Oh, well. Just by transcribing from records or listening can.
Even that we didn't know. We didn't know
Ah,
we had to transcribe. So I sort of get that, I needed to do some of it, and I did. And I actually transcribed a lot of tunes because I wanted to,
oh, wow.
and there was no way to find tunes, the real books or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but I was literally the only person in my age span who liked this kind of music.
Oh, wow.
70s, they all liked Return to Forever, Mahavishnu, whatever.
The fusion, yeah.
Fusion was big. And I was like, oh, no, 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 no. I want, Horace Silver, Johannes, Lee
Yeah,
Morgan. That was the music I wanted to play in the south of France.
yeah.
Okay. I'm not
Wow,
talking about
interesting.
I'm not talking about big
Paris.
capital area.
Yeah, yeah.
So so basically one of the good thing about living in Nice is that I could fairly quickly make a living as a musician playing all kind of music,
Hmm.
which even though I didn't completely like it was good training.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
Good training to be able to make a living as a musician playing
yeah.
music better than thinking you have to be able to do it. So the pianist,
Oh, interesting.
I was able to do that, and then I won a scholarship. I went to Berkeley, and that was it.
Yeah.
You know,
You mentioned the festival. What were the groups that you saw? I mean, did you see like all the big names like Miles and all these guys? And
Miles I saw in the States, but I saw Mingus, I saw
ah, oh,
Bill Evans,
wow, really?
yeah, Thad Jones, Mel Lewis,
Oh, wow.
and Getz, of course.
Oh,
Mm,
everyone basically.
yeah, and tons of jam sessions that came by, and I remember being mesmerized by um, Hank Jones.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So even though I didn't quite get how deep he was because he's not flashy, but I was always interested because that guy came in. I knew his name, but what I noticed is that every pianist at the festival used to go and hear him.
Oh, wow.
Everyone, just like
Really?
and I was like, hey, okay, so Hank Jones, Teddy Wilson,
Yeah.
and then every single important player of the 70s and 80s. So
Mm.
that was a
Yeah,
great.
that's amazing. Yeah. It's
Mhm.
quite an experience, probably, right?
For for
As a
a very
teenager.
young person, yes. For a
Yeah.
very young musician, yeah.
Mm. Just mentioning these big names now, like I saw in it that you have written that you played with Jerry Mulligan and Charles Lloyd also.
Yeah.
It's how did these two stories happen? I'm really curious because these are giants. So
Well, um, in Jerry's case, it's an interesting story because basically Bill Charlap was playing the gig, and
okay.
and the Bill is a little younger than me, but basically we are the same age.
Hmm.
Basically, and Bill and Kevin Hayes, mm, Larry Goldings, and myself. I used to kid around. I used to say whenever people called me, it meant that Bill, Kevin, or Larry were not.
Oh,
It was always like that. I was like number 4 on the list.
oh, but that's good already.
So whatever. And
That's
so one
funny.
day, one day, I remember clearly. Bill Charlap was playing the Village Gate, and he was having one of these epiphany moments. It seemed that everything he played was perfect. It was I don't know. Yeah, he was playing with Sean Smith and Leon Parker, something like
Uh-huh.
this.
Okay.
And so he was playing, and everything he played. So I came by and I said, "Wow, you really sound good. Very impressive." He looked at me. He said, "Frank, you won the gig with Mulligan." I said, "You." He said, "Just you want it or not?" I said, "Yeah, sure." He said, "Because I can't do it anymore. I can't do it." So he called me the following day. He said, "Just come check the music." I talked to Jerry. I said, "I can't do it anymore." Because what happened is that basically uh, he realized that he could never play like he played that night at the Village Gate.
Oh,
With
wow. Jesus.
Jerry was a fucking tyrant, you know.
Really? Oh, wow.
If you played any, if you played any note that he didn't even envision in a chord, he would just have a fit.
Wow.
So, 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 so I took his place and I played about 10 concerts, and then he didn't even fire me, just like let go. We I could not I didn't enjoy one bar
Yeah.
playing
Oh,
with.
my. Oh, my God.
So, but it's a big lesson.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
are lessons in this. First of all, make sure that you really want a gig, and if you accept the gig, you have to whatever you think of the music, you have to make it sound good, which is very
Yeah.
difficult sometimes, you know. And so that was it, you know.
That's incredible.
So,
That's
so and it's a lesson also in try to find out what you really like in music, because sometimes there are unexpected moments in music.
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
But
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
those,
definitely.
so yeah.
And what about the Charles Lloyd thing?
Oh, Charles, it was a lot easier. Um, I was a fan, so I sent him my record, and he called me back. Said, "Yeah, amazing. Yeah, as soon as I have a date, I'll call you."
Seriously?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow, that's incredible, man.
So he did, and I played a couple things, and then Michel Petrucciani was working with him,
Yeah.
and they worked together. But Charles didn't get along with Dreyfus, whatever, and
Hmm.
then it was they called me, they canceled, they called me, they canceled, and finally Charles went on putting together a different group, and that was it, basically. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, quite cool. I mean, that you did that. Like, and then I just want to ask you also this. Now you live in Paris, right?
Yeah.
Like, how is it? If why did you first of all decide to move out of New York then? Since I mean, you were kind of making a name and playing concerts and playing records and doing with basically big names also already. And why did you decide then to move to Paris after all? And how do you compare now Paris to New York? I mean, it's a big city, but it's I guess still different, right?
So many questions right there, but
Yeah.
basically, my wife got pregnant, and we had my daughter in 2001.
Mhm.
So I was a dad, and work was kind of slow. But then September 11th happened.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So 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 as it happened, we had decided to move to Paris for a few months, where an apartment of a friend was available. That's it.
Hmm.
So as we packed our suitcases, September 11th happened.
Yikes.
So a week after September 11th, we were in Paris, and all hell was broken loose, war in Afghanistan, whatever.
Yeah.
And after a year in Paris, a little less than a year, I was going back to New York. I kept a few gigs. I, I just realized that I'm not sure if I could take, the bullshit of living in New York with
Yeah.
no work, with everybody depressed. There's no work. There is like a constant
Struggle and fight, right? In a way.
struggle and fight. Also politically,
Yeah.
what's going to happen next? There was this alert, orange alert, red alert, whatever,
Yeah.
maximum threat of terrorism, whatever. It's, okay, all right. So I did. We decided to stay in Paris for the time being, And since I had never lived in Paris, a few things started to materialize. And I got to work a fair amount. And basically, I didn't miss New York after a while.
Yeah.
And after that, you get your kid's going to get public school or private school in Paris, whatever. In America, it costs $30,000.
Yeah, the quality of living is way better, maybe. Yeah.
So I went like, okay, this is a little much here. I work, I have this, I have that. Okay, goodbye, New York. It was great when I was there.
Yeah.
Plus, the scene has changed. The players here are very good right now.
Yeah.
A lot of Americans are moving to
Europe. Yeah.
Daryl Hall, I used to play with, moved to Paris. Rick Margitza, I used to play with, moved to Paris. A lot of people were the exact same players that I worked with in New York. Some of them. So, so that was it.
Yeah.